Hi there, hello, I'm Clifford Bates. Welcome once again to reading Machiavelli's Discourses. Today we wrap up Book 2 of Discourses, looking at final chapter 33. We did it right this time, right? 33, how the Romans gave free commission to their captains of armies. In other words, the idea of how the Romans governed their armies a certain way. And they gave, commissions to their officers leading the armies. He goes, let's go look at chapter 33, right from the reading, paragraph 1. I reckon that when reading this Livy history and wishing to profit from it, all the modes of proceeding of the Roman people and Senate should be considered. So we're going to read this and understand this, the Roman people and the Senate should be considered. Among the other things that deserves consideration is seeing with what authority they set their consuls, dictators, and other captains of armies outside. So how did they empower their captains of armies, their consuls, their dictators, and their captains of armies outside? Their authority is seen to have been very great, and the Senate not to have reserved any authority to itself other than that of starting a new war or ratifying a peace, and consigning all other things to the judgment and power of the consuls. So therefore, the consuls, the executive power in this sense was the consuls, right? That they're gonna, I'm waging war, I can start a war, I can consign a peace. These things are left. Starting, they consigned the starting a new war, ratifying a peace, and consigning everything else to the judgment and power of the consuls. For once the people in the Senate had decided upon a war, for instance, against the Latins, they consigned all the rest to the judgment of the consuls, who could either wage a battle or not wage it, encamp at a town or at this town or that one as he liked. Livy 1:49. Book 1, 49. These things are verified by many examples, especially by what occurred at the expedition against the Tuscans. Again, sentence, and this is Livy 9:35-36. For when Fabius, the consul, had defeated them near Sutre, and then planned to pass with his armies through the Cimmerian forest and go into Tuscany, he not only did not take counsel with the Senate, but he did not even give them any knowledge of it, although the war could have to be waged in a new, doubtful, and dangerous country. In other words, he followed them to a new territory, new area. This is testified to also by the decision made by the Senate about that. That it heard of the victory Fabius had, and feared that he would take up the policy of passing through the said forest into Tuscany. Judging that it would be good not to attempt that war and run into danger, it sent 2 legates to Fabius to make him understand he was not to pass into Tuscany. They arrived when he had already passed there and had the victory. And instead of being impeders of the war, they turned into ambassadors of the acquisition and the glory that was gained. In other words, he went there and he won. They said, no, don't do it. Send the rest of they order him to take it back. Whoever will consider this limit well will see that it was used very prudently. In other words, they arrived and the deed was done. Do you want me to give it back? Don't do it. And he did it, and he accomplished what he did. Now, if he failed, if he didn't do it and disobeyed and did it, then he punished. But he succeeded, so why tell him not to do it and give it back? Whoever will consider this limit well will see that it was used prudently. For if the Senate had wished that a consul should proceed into the war little by little, again, from hand to hand, right, according to his commission, it would have made him less circumspect and more slow. And for it would not have seemed to him that the victory would have been all his, but that of the Senate, by whose counsel he was governed, and would share it. Therefore, he's not going to do it. They're not going to be as audacious, not going to take the challenges, because they won't get the glory. The Senate won't get the glory. They get the advantage of it. They would share in it. The Senate, whom by his counsel he was governed, would share in it. Besides this, the Senate would have been obliged to wish to give counsel about a thing that it could not understand. This is the danger of micromanaging war. This is what's wrong with a lot of war right now. That people who don't really understand war are making decisions about war, right? For notwithstanding that in its that in it were men all very much trained at war, nonetheless, since it was not on the spot and did not know the infinite particulars that are necessary to know for whomever wishes to give counsel well, it would have made infinite errors in giving counsel. In other words, the Senate not there, even though they had people knowledgeable, you're not on the spot. And you're not on the spot, you don't know those things. This is the danger of micromanaging in war. This is why the American military tended to let its insubordinate local lower level officers who are closer to the thing make decisions. Now, of course, they also do micromanage. The danger of modern thing is the president is going to be in there making decisions. Well, no, that's the danger. That kind of war ends up disastrous, as Vietnam indicated, and a lot of the Gulf War too. A lot of the global war on terror was lost because of Washington and the official makers and the legislators and the interfering with the war, and the bureaucrats interfering with the war, and the warring between different agencies. This is the danger Machiavelli hints on. Let the commanders and the battlefield people do their job. Because of this, they wished that the council should act by himself, and that the glory should be all his. The love of which they judged would be a check and a rule to make him work well. In other words, his reputation, it will be what? It will check him, because in other words, the glory was, but the desire, if it's a disaster, the blame is his as well. So in other words, he's going to do it. He's going to be well checked. He's going to go do it, and then he'll make him accomplish it. Since he's going to get the glory, it's going to be his. He will work harder to this, right? Whereas if he is not going to get the glory, it's going to be someone else's. You're not going to work harder. You're going to be more cautious and not so audacious, right? This part is more willingly noted by me, since I see that the republics of the present time, such as Venetians and Florentines, understand it otherwise. And if their captains, superintendents, and commissioners have set up one artillery piece, they wish to understand and give counsel about it. In other words, Machiavelli himself, Captain of 10, one of the people of war. In other words, he sets up one. The Senate or the legislative body wants to know everything. In other words, the rulers. I see the republics of presidents. They understand otherwise. The captains set up even one artillery piece. They want to understand and give counsel about it. This mode deserves the praise that the others deserve. All of which together have led to the limits where they presently find themselves. In other words, this mode does not deserve praise, but I'm going to praise it that the others deserve, of all of which together have led to the limits that the current republics find themselves, and all the things that they think are doing good are the reasons what that they're, and this is one of those. I don't think he's praising it. He's by saying, you know, this is kind of like, this mode deserves the praise that the others deserve. Deserves the same praise as those other fuck-upperies, right? In other words, that's how he ends the discourse and ends the chapter. That is, in other words, deserve, all of which together has led them to the limits where these current republic, weak, ungoverned, unable to wage war, unable to be successful. In other words, that's the current regimes, the current republics, and he ends on that note, this kind of bitter note, because his own experience of this matter, and of how the council and other officials wish to micromanage. You know, maybe out of jealousy of anyone else. You know, they don't want. In other words, this is the kind of one. You know, jealousy of officers trying to prevent the other guy from doing something. So, you know, someone who has authority, the person higher up, but jealous of the other guy who has, in other words, he's not there, he doesn't know it, but he's I'm in charge, so I'm going to take, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to tell you what to do. That's how he ends it, in that sense. And this is the danger in modern republics. We'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in there, and I'll respond to them when I see them. If you liked the video, hit the like button, like it. And if you don't like it, you can always hit the thumbs down button, but say why in the comments, so that way people can understand. Another thing you can do is you can, if you've liked it, you can share it to your friends and other people that might be interested in it. Share in your social media. Share it far and wide. Other things, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Encourage others to come check out the channels and consider subscribing as well. All these things, commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing, all of these things add to the algorithm and modify the algorithm positively in such a way that things people will get up there. Like if I said this was about gold and real estate and Bitcoin. Now, you know, we joke about that. I should have said it earlier in the video, jokingly. But do all these things, and that the algorithm reacts to this, and it gets higher into the algorithm in that sense. Another thing you can do is you can follow me in social media. The social media links are below. If you want to know more about me as a scholar and as a researcher, you can check the the academic social media links, so you can check out my research and check out my scholarship and stuff like that. Another thing you can do is you can, want to help me to do what I do financially in that sense, you can do so through Subscribestar or Patreon, or the links are listed below, or by buying one of my books. The list of books that are currently available are presented below, and you can either order it by your local bookstore in that sense. Some things are ebooks. You can order them ebook wise, but Amazon, Kindle, and Apple bookstore for bookstore stuff. But if the normal books, you can order by your bookstore, but you can do it through, if not there, online distributors like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Book Depository, Libris, or directly through the publishers. Well, that's it. Next time we meet, we'll start Book 3. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.